Law enforcement and other first responders are increasingly relying on technology solutions to help them in their day-to-day work, responding to emergencies and combating criminal activity. In just a few short years, rapidly advancing technologies have delivered amazing new tools to the law enforcement arsenal. These tools include body cameras, detection, surveillance, and communication technologies, biometrics, and even airborne drones that capture video of crimes as they occur. In this report, we'll explore law enforcement technology today and learn how technology-based solutions are improving the safety of both law enforcement professionals as well as the public they are dedicated to serve. This report features expert Robert Gronenthal, CEO of Island Tech Services. Island Tech Services is a leading provider of advanced technology, mobility, and vehicle solutions to business professionals, first responders, and public sector employees. There are several teaching points in this program. Security challenges faced by cities and towns today. U.S. law enforcement departments and today's technology. Key technological advances in law enforcement. Barriers preventing law enforcement technology from being implemented. Law enforcement technology, a look to the future. Now, let's begin our report. High on the list of priorities for local governments today is the issue of public safety. Cities, counties, towns, and villages must ensure the safety of individuals to attract and maintain businesses, retain residents, and build and maintain a reputation that an area is a safe place to live, work, and enjoy leisure activities. Law enforcement professionals today face many complex challenges as they strive to protect and serve the public. According to the FBI, while property crime is decreasing, statistics for violent crime in our towns and cities continues to rise, all while law enforcement deals with increasing threats from terrorism, drug dealing, and cybercrime. Today, technology is playing an increasing role in helping to manage threats and keep us secure. Guest expert Robert Gronenthal, CEO of Island Tech Services, offered his perspectives on advanced technology for law enforcement today.
A police officer's job, he or she is expecting that when they get in their vehicle, that technology is part of their everyday workplace. So the ability to get data down to them in order to share data, to get their calls, to be able to do lookups from driver's licenses to the wanted databases, that is part of their environment, and there's an expectation that they're able to do that. The younger generation, always constantly videoing, always having their phones out, always doing those kinds of things now, has made the officers understand that this is part of their life now. So the acceptance of cameras themselves has definitely increased. And now we've seen where the continued use of in-car video as well as body-worn video to get a complete picture of everything that a law enforcement officer is seeing today has started to make that transition and move forward.
Gronenthal's firm, ITS, helps law enforcement organizations to address their most complex security and safety challenges through the implementation of advanced technology solutions. Here, he discusses the benefits that these new tools deliver.
So the ability for the technology to get out into the field itself, into the officer's hands, has started to increase productivity. Their patrol car is their mobile office, so the ability for them to go back to the station now has been reduced greatly, and everything is now mobile and out and in the field.
Technical advancements, including facial recognition technologies, street cameras and drones, body cameras and license plate readers, mobile fingerprint readers, and communication devices, are being welcomed and quickly implemented by many police and other law enforcement organizations around the country. We asked Rob Gronenthal for his thoughts on where exactly U.S.-based law enforcement departments stand with respect to advanced technology.
From a perspective of technology in the vehicle, the mobile data computer has been in their environment, but that computer and the technology is changing. So we're moving more towards tablet technology as well, the separation of the computer itself, so that we can get out into the field more as opposed to our fixed computer inside the vehicle. So we've seen a trend over the years now that the smallest of agencies, even a 1- and 2-car department, now utilize mobile data out in the field itself and down to the vehicle to, again, increase effectiveness and efficiency of the officers.
Gronenthal then discussed the goals he would like to see law enforcement departments reach regarding their implementation of advanced technology over the next few years.
From my point of view, I think they want more data sharing, and they want more technology in the vehicle to give them more information before they step out of the car, whether it be at a violent situation, whether they be at a regular routine call, whether it be an aided case. They want information. That is their job, to get all that information, assess their situation before they step out of the vehicle, to make sure that it's a safe environment for them and they know what they're getting into. Whether it be a violent person on the other side, that they're walking into a history, maybe multiple people, things of that nature.
How exactly can organizations accomplish these goals? Listen as Rob Gronenthal explains.
Delivering connectivity down to the field is priority number one for them. Being disconnected just because you have a computer in your car doesn't mean that you're going to get all the information real time. So the disconnect for them would be that, and especially in some of the rural environments and disconnects, that's our challenge. Our challenge to make sure we give connectivity to our law enforcement officers all the time and real time as well. The challenge of video and feeds, those are things now from a safety perspective, not only recording, but being able to live stream and send video data back about a situation. Depending on the department, it could be how long their backup gets there. So the use of technology inside their car and real-time reporting of GPS as an example, and location of where they are. And we can get down to the point of body worn as well, where the officer leaves their vehicle and where they're physically located. I think those are the challenges and things that we need to get to on an everyday basis for all of our cops.
For law enforcement agencies that can invest in and implement advanced technology solutions, we asked about the typical challenges they'll face and how to best navigate them.
Budget will always be a factor. Government themselves is shrinking in dollars and cents and available dollars and cents. No politician wants to go out and raise taxes. So they're trying to find alternate means to fund the technology that's needed. And staffing, that's the second portion. In general, government themselves has been shrinking, outsourcing more. So the ability to have the staff in order to implement and maintain has continued to be a challenge for them.
Beyond budget, we asked if there were other implementation challenges.
So I think life cycle is really the hardest part for them. Traditional government is slower to adopt technology by the time the funding source is identified, by the time the equipment is researched and developed, and then you have a rollout schedule out from traditionally inside research and development out into the field itself. So the life cycle is really what probably hurts them the most as far as technology is changing, and it's changing rapidly.
Changing topics, Gronenthal next offered his thoughts on what he believes are the most important technological advances that have taken place in the law enforcement arena in the past several years.
So I think there's been a lot of different changes that have been going on in law enforcement. The use of license plate readers, LPR cameras as an example now, has become the norm. It's not only just on the back of patrol vehicles themselves, but fixed cameras reading in and out of various municipalities. They're reading license plates. So the awareness of what's going on within their own communities has dramatically increased. The use of body-worn cameras, that's been a hot topic inside law enforcement across the nation. The acceptance of body-worn cameras and the acceptance of us videotaping what's going on from an officer's perspective has obviously increased and felt the need. Additionally, the use of rugged devices out in the field, taking devices outside of their car. So traditionally, officers would use their vehicle as their mobile office. The technology trend now is to take that device outside of the vehicle itself, whether it be an actual wearable device or a handheld device, and take it into your home, into the scene to start getting the information back to you.
Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn are changing the ways we do business today across the board. Law enforcement is no exception. Here, our guest expert tells us about the use of social media and other digital sources to improve efficiency and solve crimes.
Yeah, I think we've seen that various agencies now themselves have incorporated social media right into their public information office. It's part of the norm for them now to get information back out to the public, whether it simply be a missing child or a Alzheimer's patient who's walked away from a nursing home. That kind of information now has become readily available through social media outlets, Facebook as an example. Law enforcement agencies use them now all the time and are relying on that information to be put out there so that the public can get the information back to them as quickly as possible.
There's no doubt that some of these innovative technology solutions discussed today will be part of the rising Internet of Things, or IoT. Gronenthal discussed the up-and-coming role of IoT.
The adoption of wireless technologies and communicating devices throughout law enforcement now has continued to grow. So where the use of disconnected mode was the norm for a law enforcement agency, they would get their data, they would get their pieces of information, run out in the car for the day, and synchronize when they get back to the station, is no longer there. The use of the internet themselves to deliver media, to deliver live streaming of video for officer safety, those connectivity things that are going on now is what's driving the changes in the technology in the law enforcement field.
Another rising technology star is artificial intelligence, or AI, which is very much in the news today. Our expert explained AI's emerging role in law enforcement and public safety technology solutions.
I think when you look at what artificial intelligence is, when we look at things like bomb detection, threat detection, terrorism, unmanned devices, all those technologies now are starting to be looked at and implemented. The use of drones, even for an officer safety perspective, drones that follow an officer on a foot pursuit and deploying those kinds of devices out of their vehicle. Those are trends that aren't necessarily happening today, but technology is being developed for officer safety.
Gronenthal's firm, New York-based Island Tech Services, is a leading provider of advanced technology solutions to police, fire, and other first responders throughout the country. We asked him to tell us about the recent law enforcement technology projects that ITS has been involved with.
So we have local agencies now that are taking security of their vehicle to be a very critical situation, and they're responding also to the mandate by CJIS themselves and the FBI to secure their data out in the field. Since that data has now become real time and there's databases, information sharing back and forth. So two-factor authentication is one topic today that is continually being expanded upon in the field. So not only are officers just using passwords to log into their particular device, they are also using fingerprint readers, facial recognition of the officer, as well as key fobs for building access controls, things that they normally would have on them already as a second level of authentication for their devices.
Today, many cities and towns may have limited financial resources. Therefore, advanced technologies that are implemented must be scalable and sustainable. We asked our expert if the law enforcement technology solutions we've talked about today are, in fact, scalable and sustainable.
I believe so, and the reason why is because the use of the cloud has now become more accepting inside law enforcement agencies, where traditionally we would say cloud to a customer and they were like, no, everything stays within our four walls. But since the technology is changing, the ability to support it, the amount of hardware needed now to support that as well has changed. The acceptance of cloud-based solutions, whether it be security or storage, has definitely increased so that they're getting a longer life cycle out, they're getting more sustainable, and the reliance of third-party vendors to help them keep that going. We are a firm believer in rugged mobile devices out in the field. The total cost of ownership and return on investment is there when you do pay more for a rugged, reliable device, but it's operating 24/7, 365 days a year in every environmental aspect known, whether it's extreme heat or extreme cold, not to mention vibration as well. So these devices, a patrol officer will take his vehicle off the street, off a curb, all those pieces to go along with it. So the ability to have that device withstand will give you the return on investment. We're always looking for a 5-year minimum return on investment when we offer solutions up for our customers based on cost and based on budget.
Now, citizens want to feel safe, but they're also concerned about their privacy being protected. We asked Gronenthal for his thoughts on this critical issue of privacy.
So I think it's a delicate issue that is being played out sometimes in law enforcement itself. The use of body-worn cameras. So you have the public crying out saying that these acts are going on within a police officer assaulting somebody or using excessive force. And so therefore they want them videotaped. And yet at the same time, they're struggling with the fact that they're being videotaped on every interaction. So the use of video itself is probably the biggest piece within privacy. But nowadays, every single business themselves, streets, corners, everything else is all being videoed as well. So the slow adoption of, and I think the move away from privacy issues and invasive of privacy as it relates to video is slowly coming down because of the acceptance of and the want for people to have access to that video.
In today's report, Law Enforcement Technology Today, we first learned about the challenges faced by cities and towns as it relates to security today. Next, we discussed the progress being made by U.S. law enforcement departments with respect to technology. Then, we reviewed key technological advances and discussed the barriers that may prevent these solutions from being implemented. Next, our guest expert, Robert Gronenthal, offers his advice on how cities and towns can build their case for fighting crime with advanced technology solutions.
So I think it's similar to business. It's a return on investment. Our law enforcement agents, we want them in the field. We want them out. We want them to be productive. And while there may not be a dollar associated with the return on investment on an hourly scale for what profitability is like a business, their productivity in the field is what yields that return on investment. Them being able to close cases out quicker, share data quicker, get their reports done out in the field, not having to go back to the office and in the station and sit down in front of a computer to finish doing all those pieces. That's really where, from a productivity side, that we look, that the cities and villages and towns will look to increase that. And then you have community access. People want that information. If I've gotten into a motor vehicle accident, I can't get my claim from my insurance agency until I get my police report. Well, my police report is now funded and primarily done in the field in a mobile data environment. So that data has to be completed in the field, sent back to headquarters or sent back to the station, and then I have to have public access to it. So that's really where the combination of private and public come together, and where we're seeing law enforcement agencies start to develop systems and access for the public in order to get the data that they're looking for as well.
Gronenthal then looked to the future and commented on the evolution of law enforcement technology.
So I think you're going to see the wearable technology start to change. And we've seen it. We've seen some vendors now in an exploratory piece getting away from a mobile data computer, and that computer being their phone, so that when the officer leaves the car, he uncradles that phone, walks back out into the field itself. He's got his camera, he's got his data, he's got his connectivity, he's got all those pieces, and more importantly, gets to keep his hands. For a cop, putting something in his hands and having to walk up to the side of your vehicle is a complete struggle. He's been trained in order, to evaluate you within the first 5 to 10 seconds of your interaction, whether or not you're safe, whether his situation is safe, whether his environment is safe. And by putting something in his hand, such as a tablet, one of those hands is going to be tied up. So wearable technology, portable technology to that officer is where I think we're going to wind up seeing things move towards, so that he can, again, feel like he's interacting with you and yet he's safe.
Our guest expert left us with this concluding thought.
So I think as the law enforcement officer itself, their vehicles are getting smaller, and the amount of equipment and things that are going into those vehicles themselves has greatly increased. And we talked a little bit about wearable technologies and body cameras and all those things that go through. So they have challenges about the number of pieces of equipment they need to carry today. So when our advice really is to look at the total solution wrapped around what that officer's environment is going to look like. Does he have a second person in the car with him? Is he operating alone? What's his support mechanism back for data? the connectivity pieces in his environment. So really, we look at everything as a total solution for him and what a day in life is like for him on an 8 to 12 hour shift being in that vehicle.
That concludes our report, Law Enforcement Technology Today. We thank our guest expert, Robert Gronenthal, CEO of Island Tech Services, for sharing his knowledge and expertise on the critically important topic of law enforcement technology. This is Michael Quinlan reporting, and thanks so much for watching.